Morning, everybody. All right, let's take a quick peek here and see how many advanced students are actually here right now. There it is. Moving some tabs around. All right. I saw Bryant. There he is. Not see Miss Smith. Not see Miss Witcher. All right. Okay, everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with advanced students. So Bryant, this one is going out to you. You get to represent. And I'm going to give you guys just a couple of minutes with advance and go over what we are doing to start off with them. So kind of just kick back and hang out for a second. My intro was Kim Jung Gi. He is South Korean, and he's a really awesome artist. And we're going to talk about part of how I'm redoing drawing is to kind of help us get into a better style of perspective. Brian, you ready? Give me a yo like in chat or something. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pink. Okay. So I'm going to share. Not that one. A little bit of your lesson. So let the screen catch up with us. So for advanced, traditionally, I used to start off with taking like brown paper or packing paper, and we would crumple it and reshape it and draw, crumple it, reshape it and draw. And then I came across this artist, Martin Fiel, I think, and his AKA is Tincho. And I've got the links into advanced class so you can see. And what he does is he starts taking pictures of clouds, and it's the same concept. So the wrinkle paper, I used to have you do a transform drawing going from wrinkle paper to something else. So you'd have one part of it was still wrinkle paper, one part of it was transforming, and then the last part, the last third of it was the object that you saw. And what he does is he does these really cool ink drawings. And the method that he does is he takes pictures of clouds, and then he actually uses the picture, and then he puts it on a light table, and then he puts a paper over it, and he draws what he sees. So so this is him working on his light table, and he is usually direct to pen. So the difference is that we are going to use pencils. If you want to put ink to it, you can, but I want to see like some of your shading skills and stuff. Again, this is advanced. This is their first project. Your sketches this week should be either crumpling up paper and drawing that, or taking pictures of clouds. And I can't see outside right now, so I don't know if there's good clouds or bad clouds. We talked about that last week a little bit in person. So this is his finished piece. So it's the picture from above, and it's the overlaid 2 images. So that's the cloud that he looked at, and this is the image that he came up with. If you go to his website, and so I have 3 sites here, this is one of the galleries where he actually has, it's nothing but his interpretation of clouds. And then there's a personal website and a little bit of that talks about why he does this and what he came up with. So once we have sketches, so you have to have sketches by next class, which is Thursday. So advanced has to have their sketches done by Thursday for this. And then it's going to be a 4-day process. So it'll be all through next week. So it's due next Friday is your interpretation of what you see in a cloud. I don't mind if you don't see any good clouds or you don't see anything in them, then take some paper, crumple it up, set it down, take a picture, rearrange it. But I want to see your imagination from a dissimilar object. Use the cloud or the paper as your basis for shading. So when we see here the dark areas of the turtle, he's using dark areas of the cloud, and he's got his nice line work to it to show shading. I'm really going to look for demonstration of shading skills, use of imagination, comparing pre-work to final work. Those are going to be the big 3 things. Any questions, Mr. Waite, since you represent the, hey, Miss Smith is here. So there's 2 of you now for advance as I quickly skim through my look-see. So I'm going to stop sharing that. So I am guessing by your stunned silence. Thank you, sir. All right. So advance, I think what I'm going to show drawing, it's something that I didn't show. Your sister's watching. Okay. Miss Miller, that's cool. And just make sure that tell her to email me later since her computer isn't working, and we can handle that for sure. So advanced people, I want you to kind of watch what we're going to do today. I didn't teach you guys this way. It's a whole new thing. So we are going to try something completely different. So everybody else, we're going to try this and see if it works. So at some points, I'm going to be switching cameras. So I have a camera here, and I have a camera that faces this way down. So what I want to do is pull up my lesson. And you guys probably saw this. I hope I posted this. I think I posted this morning. At least I posted it in one drawing class. I'll say that. So we're going to pop over. So banana boxes. We talked a little bit about this in class last week. And sorry, I'm tapping the paper out. So the banana box, it's going to be something simple. So I say banana. We all know what a banana looks like. It might help some of you to get a reference. And for this, kind of want to start off with a flat banana. So I'm going to not pay attention to this top edge, this really light edge. I really want the side of the banana. It fits in a rectangle, and we're going to start with a rectangle. Some of you might want to draw like bigger squares. This is probably a little bit better rectangle banana. So we can use any pencil. I'm going to end up using just a normal click pencil. Got my paper set. Turn this on. Let's see if I can easily switch cameras. So, all right, so give me a sec. I'm going to turn that off. And how can I change my camera? There we go. Cool. All right, so here's my piece of paper. I have some little things around me, so I've got a ruler if I need a ruler. I have a cloth if I need cloth. I've got pens and everything. So for this first thing, we're not gonna, it doesn't have to be super accurate. We want to get a nice rectangle. So that's my start. That's my start to a rectangle. Since I'm doing a banana, we'll turn the guy a little sideways. I have a couple sheets of paper here so that the table, because the drawing paper goes past my edge of my mouse pad, and I don't want to get a line in my drawing. So I'm going to look at my banana and draw my banana, or I'm going to use my imagination to draw my banana. But what we want is we want our banana. So I'm just going to pause for a second. Hopefully we're all drawn together. So hopefully you've got a pencil and something to draw on. It doesn't have to be white paper. It can be notebook paper. If you need to have straight box edges, you could use a pen or a ruler if you want. But for this, you just want to have some easy. We want to control. The box is going to make us, it's going to force us to control our shape in the fact that our shape has to fit inside this box. And then we're using that image of the banana there to give us a base. So see if I can get the banana like real big. So I'll also present so you guys can see a banana, in case you need a banana. So for this, I want to touch as many sides as I can with this banana. So I'm going to put the end over here. And it kind of bumps a little. And I'm going to drop him. Bring him up, taper it. I'm going to cut the stem down so it's not as long so I can fit it just into this little space. And I'm doing sketching lines. So I do a couple of lines to represent the solid. Drawing line. And these are contour edges, contours. So they're lines that go around the shape or the form that we are working on. So that's my banana. So everyone, I'm going to mentally count off while I'm letting you guys catch up with me. I'm not making any other marks. I'm not, if we look at the banana itself, I'm not too worried about this end of the banana, the bottom of the banana. I might come back and do something with this area. And I'm really trying to get this sort of flat face. Because this line droops down, that's why mine kind of droops there. I just realized this camera inverts my image. So, because that's actually my right side and it looks like it's left side on the camera. So I wonder if it's probably inverted for you guys too, I would guess. I don't know why, but it does that. So this really deep slide, I'm not doing this top line, I'm doing this line here. I'm just doing one side of the banana, one edge. All right, hide that, keep my mouse over there. Okay, so I'm gonna guess by now everybody's got a banana drawn. So here's what we're gonna do. Now we're gonna give depth to this, and this is how we're gonna work soft perspective. So what I'd like to do is it doesn't matter which way your box goes. It just depends on what you want to end up showing. So I'm going to slant my box. And I'm just making these nice lines come out. Now, this is going to cause me to shift my banana. I'm going to have to move some of it. For example, the end and the stem, the bottom and the top of my banana are going to shift a little. They're going to go from this front edge towards the middle. But I'm not going to do a giant leap yet. What I want to do is I want to bring myself out a couple of lines. So I'm going to make these darker. I'm going to give myself some guidelines. And I went with high points and low points in my banana. So the lower areas and then the higher areas all get these guidelines. Right now I'm not worried about this underside. My perspective just doesn't seem like, if I were to draw, if I look at these lines coming out and I were to make an edge underneath, it goes under the banana, so I don't worry about anything under this banana. I'm looking above it and down to it. And starting simple, I'm going to mimic this line. I'm going to add one right here because that's the bottom of it, so I kind of want this line to go like this. And I'm going to bow up. I'm going to bow down. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to have to mess with the stem part of the banana a little. So to mess with that, what I need to do is it doesn't sit on one side. It actually sits in the middle. So I'm going to come in, make my straight line here. I'm going to come in off of this front edge and make my second line. Then what I want to do is I want to taper this out, move this line back. So this line here is going to go away. I'm going to taper this out to my edge. I'm going to round this part here. I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. And I know the end of a banana is a little bit rounded, so I'm going to make this guy a little bit round. And simply, I've just given my banana some depth. Now I could play with my lines a little bit. And then once I'm satisfied, the box, so I'm going to redo my box underneath. By the way, if I ever get out of sync, somebody pop on your mic and be like, hey, Abel, you're out of frame. Because sometimes I just start drawing and I get excited and I forget to look up and see where I am. So the other part of the box is, so not only is the box going to help us get depth, it does reverse it. So not only does it give us, I got to think about this. How about that? Still can write backwards. Not only does it give us depth into our picture, but this box is going to help us with our shading. So when we look at the box, we can decide which way our light comes from. Is our light coming and hitting the top? Does it come from this front edge? Is it backlit? Or is it
Mr. Abel,
the toe? Yo.
people said that they can't see you because the screen is too small.
Okay, let me do this. Let me turn off the
Pin it. Just pin the screen. Just pin the screen.
And then pop this one. Oh. Wait a minute. Okay, is that pinned now? Is it big or no?
No, other people just pin the screen.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good job. So, because I'm running a second program, so I can see everybody here. So it makes my screens a little bit tiny. Let me try this. Try that one. If you guys go down, the three little dots at the bottom next to chat. So not in the chat menu, but to the left of it, you can left click on it and you can change your layout. It's right the same place that you can find recording if you want to record this yourself and not use my recording. But you can hit change layout and it will switch the screens for you. So you can change it, and you might want to do spotlight or you might want to do sidebar instead of tile. Okay. So, because I can manually get this down a little bit more. That's probably as close as I can get this guy. Cool. And I dropped my banana picture. So if you guys want to see the banana picture that I'm using, I'll put it in chat in case you need a banana. I mean, you can draw any banana you like. You don't even have to use a real banana, because this guy became kind of fat when I was working on him. So part one is, this is going to give us length, height or width, depending on how you're drawing, and depth to your pictures. It's going to make them 3D. Part two is it's going to help you with shading. So just for purpose sake, I'm going to say that my banana is getting light on this side. So I'm going to draw a light bulb. And that's my light source. So this side. So my light comes from this point, and it's going to hit my banana along this edge, meaning that this edge is going to be a little darker, and the back part of this edge is going to be real dark. So when my banana gets hit, I might create a spot and slowly add some shading to this edge. Now, if I do I'm just doing quick shading here because I want to go through a lot today, and I want to get a lot in and not waste some time. From here, I could use other boxes if I wanted to make my banana more interesting. You know, you could come forward. You could make this top any way you like. But so I'm just kind of throwing this in really quick. And this is going to help. So right now I'm using flat surface. Bananas, the reason I picked a banana over like an apple or an orange is bananas have a lot of flat sides to them. So it's going to be a little bit easier when I start. This week, we're going to work on doing a little bit more complex things. Apples, I would start apples and banana, or apples and oranges. I'd probably start with a more of a box shape and then go to a cube. Apples and pears, I'd probably taper that cube a little bit because apples are bigger on the top, tinier in the bottom. Pears are reverse. Pears undulate slightly. And then to show this shadow coming across here, so eventually I want to get rid of this edge line. So I'm just going to make this light, and then I would increase its shadow in the back. And because I'm not erasing anything, it's going to look a little sloppy, and that's fine for it to look a little sloppy because we want to remember, you know, what did we just do? How did we get to this point? And that intro video I showed you of Jung Gi, he does this, but he doesn't need the box anymore. He knows where it is. He doesn't need to have the box for a light source. He understands when he's working how he wants things to go. The pen he uses is a brush pen. So in the handle, it has ink or paint I think he uses mostly a little bit thicker ink, and that's got a brush tip to it. So when he works, he can use it fine tip, or he can press down on it and get a little bit wider tip. And it allows him to ink and go. So he's not worried about making mistakes. He's confident that he knows how this soft perspective works. All right, so that's our start to soft perspective, is this idea, this capturing of a banana. And so what I want everyone to do is, hopefully we just together, and if you didn't do it together, you're going to do it on your own, is you're going to make a banana box. So you're going to start with a flat rectangle, and then you're going to add some sizes or some depth to it by adding some other things. The other nice thing that this box is going to do for us is you can play now with your perspective. So if I wanted to, I could just put banana, but I could keep the stem out of my box. And I could add a new box just for the stem. So I could take one box for everything, and I could break this into separate boxes. And then to come up, I could come up with another box. And then to make that edge, just going to bring this forward some. And I make these shapes. From these base shapes, I can create something more complex. I can build a deeper image. I could also go in and I could put holes, if I wished, into objects. So I could put a hole right through the middle of my banana. And I could leave it a mechanical looking hole. Keeping the edges square and flat. I darken this top edge so that I know that there's a shadow being created by the depth, and I lighten up this front edge because my light would be cascading. My light from here would be pushing in through this hole, and then I can darken out that back part. And I can do things like punch holes into it. I could push pieces out of it if I wanted, just like I did this back part. So we're gonna do a couple of exercises, and before we get too far, okay, so you can stop watching my banana, and we're gonna peek at. So an application for this. We see it all the time in comics. And when you're looking at a comic page, they're using perspective. So not only is there perspective in the buildings, buildings are easy boxes, rectangles to do perspective in, but we also can do that for our figures. Now our figures can break down into more shapes. So I could do cylinders for the arm and a cone for the forearm. I could do like a little a set of boxes for his feet. Each one of the fingers could become cones. But when you go through, what we're doing right now is like we're getting different views, different planes, so we can see how he turns. Find one that's a little bit bigger. And pop on a yellow pencil. Oh yeah. Don't want to change the board. I want to use my pencil. Tools. Well, fiddle me sticks. More than one way to do this. It'll take me a second. I was hoping I didn't have to do it in Photoshop. So what we're looking for is we're looking for, how would we set these boxes and build a scene. Now, this scene is already built for us, and we're going to do an exercise that lets us use something that is in existence and take that something. Oh, now let me copy the picture. There, copy, file, new. Oh, we knew there'd be a little bit of glitches. Oop-a-doop. My banana. See, I'll get it going. Boom. So I'm in Photoshop, and we're going to look at how to use this method, how we can apply it to different things. So how big is my brush? It's pretty small. So his front is this box. And then to make his side, the depth on him, and yeah, that's good. We can square out his body. I can use the boxes and I can change those. So for his arm, I could use a box to start with. And I can use a box. This box tapers slightly. So it slants down in. It gets a little bit smaller to help us with perspective. In other words, we don't want the wrist and the shoulder to be the same size. So when I come here and I start to make this box, you can see how the artist has tapered it in. And come to there, come down, come back, and then make my brush a little bigger. So this is all side here. And I would then switch these. Oh, that's not a good color for this. We'll go green. And I would make my cylinders.
Hey, Mr. Abel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I said, hey, this is Robert.
Hey, how you doing, Robert?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. Hopefully your sister's paying attention.
Oh, she is.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might have to beat her. So I can take that arm and I can make this into a cylinder. I can make this into a cylinder, or I could make it into a cone if I wanted. The idea is that this looks like a pretty complex scene, but you can use, we'll try this one. You can use this idea of boxes. Oh, that's why I'm not on my brush. I'm like, what am I doing there? I can use this idea of boxes to create all of my scene. So all of these little buildings back here, they're just boxes. And then the windows, if the artist does it right, you can just line them all up and then divide them out as they want. So when you look at stuff, you say, okay, you know, that's great, Mr. Abel. I can see how cartoon artists can use this. I can make a banana 3D. What else is this going to do for me? So the more complex, and as comics have evolved, now that people do their comics, a majority of comics are done digitally. These scenes have become very complex. And the nice thing is I can draw my buildings completely separate, and then I can put them in the background. So this truck, I could use it several times over. And again, it's just boxes. They taper the hood, small rectangle front, trapezoid for the hood, nice window. I have little shadowy figures in there. I can pop different images into it. Other places that you're going to use this, we're going to use this as we look at defining our world. So right now we're doing one banana. We're going to do a couple of bananas. Some of you might try to do peeled bananas. Some of you might try to do bunches of bananas. But when we're really into it and we look at a scene like this guy, we have our bananas, and each one could have its own little rectangle to it. The tree would be a rectangle that I turn into a cylinder. Same with these little fronds that are coming off, or the poles that are supporting it. Those could be rectangles. And then as this scene pops out, I just make a bunch of rectangles, and then I just change them into the shapes and forms I want. So to start with, we're going to start simple. We're going to use bananas. We'll use apples. Not this apple. But this is a good example of taking this. So this is obviously the Mac logo. And it is taken from a real apple silhouette and then built in. You can see what we're talking about. Some apples are a little bit more rounder, but for the most part, our apple's a little thicker across the top than it is across the bottom. Pears are different. Plums are going to be round. Peaches are going to be round. As it tilts, the dimple here, which is where the stem comes out of, this would be the top of my box, and then a little circle in here, and I'm going to shade this. So shading is going to be our next step, how we develop our shading skills. So this week's assignment is going to be, and I'll post it this afternoon, is going to deal with draw me 2 bananas. We did one in class, so you only have one more to do, and try to make it as complex as you feel comfortable. So if you want to try to make it at a different angle, if you want to show it peeling, then that's your next banana. Then we're going to do 2 apples, a simple side view apple, and then twist the apple. The bottom area of the apple kind of looks like a crown, the way it bumps out. Those are kind of tough, and you're very rarely ever going to see an apple from the other end. And it's just because it's just not how we identify apples. This part down here is just not how we identify apples. You might try and take a slice out of your apple, how I did the indent on my, or how I did the hole cut in my banana. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to try to take something that is complex, like a comic book page, and you're going to try to figure out where the boxes go. So it's not a hard one. You're not going to have to redraw the comic. You're just going to draw over the top of it. Where are the boxes in the comic? So I'll give a couple option of pages for those of you that want to do and try that. If you're interested, this is Kim, and we're just going to watch a couple of outtakes from him. So flip over, make sure that's on. That's good. So he has to have an interpreter. He does not speak English. And this is from a video series. I told you guys I've been watching some. Proco, he does some pretty good video interviews with artists. So when he says, I use two methods, I can doodle spontaneously, and I use a method, and I use this method for commissions. But he also goes in there and says, before he just starts attacking a paper, he knows what his clients want. He understands that they're looking for specifics, which it depends on, is it a video game that he's drawing for? Is it a comic book he's drawing for? Is it something that someone wants for their personal art? So he has two methods, and we're just going to look at it.
Two methods. I can doodle spontaneously, and I use this method for commission projects. A lot of information is being shared during each project. So I tend to have in mind what to draw and what is to be included.
So the idea of the thing about Kim is he does a lot of live demos. He gets paid to do artwork in front of an audience. And all it is he walks in, there's a blank piece of paper, and he starts to draw on the blank piece of paper. But in reality, he's already thought of what he wants the final product to be. So that image that I showed you, you could see him using references. And he's using references because he was doing characters from Marvel Comics. So that little intro piece I threw on today, it was from the Civil War series, which means all of Marvel superheroes are involved in this, and they're fighting with each other. So he had to have a reference because that's not something he normally draws. Now, people, perspective, no problem. Spider-Man, Thor, those are specifics, so he uses references on that. So he knows what he's going to draw ahead of time, where it's going to be placed, and then sometimes he's using some references. So this is him talking about how he goes into his brain and he tries to get views from different points. And all that is he's talking about perspective. So, and this little quote, don't draw what you've seen, what you see, draw what you have seen, is because he works a lot from memory. So he wouldn't look up a banana. He knows a banana. He studied a banana. If it's something that he hasn't studied, then he has to draw from what he sees. So, right there. So, and this part is kind of, I think this is kind of, it's going to hit. I've been looking at your guys' sketches that you turned in for this week. And remember, I'm looking for you to progress, for you to have growth. And he's going to talk about being, when he was a kid and what other kids draw, and then how he observed a difference.
When kids back then drew tanks, they would only draw it like this. Can
you guys hear the audio? I mean, I put up captions just in case.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. So I'll back just a little there, not too much.
When kids back then drew tanks, they would only draw it like this from the side, a very flat drawing. But I noticed that depending on the perspective.
So when we look at his artwork, and he talks about, it's a very set idea that you can accept very simple drawings. The reason stick figures work is that as humans, we know what someone means when they draw a stick figure. With a few lines, we can interpret information. Our alphabet is a few lines to make characters. We combine those characters to make words. We combine those words to make sentences, etc. So we're very good at taking face value information. But as artists, We want to strive to be a little bit more. And he describes his style as it's not realistic, it's more comic realistic. In other words, his people are correct proportions, his sizes are correct, but it's not a photo image of a person. And when you look, this is kind of like a World War I tank, and then next to it is a little different style tank. Could be like World War II, but he's drawing it from a top view. So you see one side in the top of the object, similar to how we just drew our banana. We did a top view and a side view, and then he tapers it. Now he's using some little tricks of perspective. He doesn't make the treads really small because it's a short distance from the top to the bottom. The front tread here is a little bit bigger than the tread back here, so it seems to get smaller as it goes back in space. So we're going to talk about that before we leave today, how to taper things. But when you look at this entire scene, it's a Wonder Woman scene. So that's Wonder Woman and soldiers from World War I and World War II. And as you look at his tanks,
the lines will look angled differently. And so I just drew what I saw. And in cartoon TV shows, I'd see how tanks or other objects would look more cool.
Oh, right, an explosion. Okay, so front view of a tank, really not that impressive. It's similar to the side view. It's actually a little bit less than the side view. Because this is an animated show, they're cutting some corners here. So really heavy shadows. So we have to interpret that's the front of a tank. It's moved its gun, so we get silhouette. And then back here you have a side view. Again, a front view and a side view. So instead of our banana being top and side, this would be front and side. The car here in the foreground is the same thing, back and side.
Angles. I try to float an image in my mind. Try to turn it to the angle that will look best. Experimenting to make my drawing look as fancy as possible.
So did you study perspective theory, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective? Did you study that before you were able to draw 3D form?
We're going to do all that after we do shading. We're going to learn the technical how to take out a ruler, find a vanishing point. All that's going to come, but we're going to do soft perspective. Then we're going to do shading. Then we're going to do technical perspective. All right. This is a 27-minute interview if you're interested. It's not too old. It's from December last year, so it's not quite a year old yet. It's a pretty recent, relevant interview if you're interested in it. I really think that this guy here, he's Proco. I think his name is Stan. It's a kind of a Polish name. And he runs this website where he does some instructions, but he does a lot of interesting interviews with artists. And he has contemporary artists that are alive and stuff that you guys may be interested in. I found him after I found Kim, and Kim was introduced to me by a student last year. A little bit in the student's junior year, and then senior year, this was one of their key artists that they liked and wanted to end up being like. So it was an advanced drawer. All right, so pop that off. So we're going to show tapering just to kind of give you, that's that one. We're going to show some how to do tapering. Doop-a-doop. So I forget sometimes where my things are, like switching cameras. Boop. There we are, back to the banana. I'm going to pull this out just a little. Oh, hit done. So I can keep my boxes flat. So again, we're all drawing together. We're gonna make another rectangle, blank. and that's flat. The thing with flat is I have one primary side I'm going to view. It's backwards.
It's not backwards. The first way you wrote it's the right way.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So in my view, in my little window, it shows this backwards every time. So I was writing backwards. Thanks for telling me that. So with this, I'm looking at this edge. Then I'm going to go in different directions. Now, one thing I want to do is I don't want to change my mind. So I'm going to pick, do I see this side or this side? Do I see the top or the bottom? So we just did a top and we did this side. So I'm going to give us a little different view. And then side, bottom. So when I'm looking at it, this says to me that I, the viewer, am smaller. And I'm looking up towards the object. Whereas if I do it the way we did the banana, I, the viewer, am above the object because I see a top here. Always a side, and then a top or a bottom. But what if I want to get something a little bit more dramatic? Hey, Mr. Abel, this is simple. I can do this. I understand it. My banana's already rocking, and I want to try something more challenging. So instead of drawing a flat surface, we're going to draw an edge. And then I'm going to have lines that go away, and I'm not going to keep it the same size. So I'm going to make this line only about that tall. So I'm tapering. This becomes a trapezoid, bigger than that. And then I can come across with my flat edges. And I can keep these the same size. So I'll mark it with parallel, parallel. And then I can keep these parallel lines the same size. So these are all the same. These are all the same. The only one I changed was this one here. And that gives me a tapered view. So now things that are going further from me are smaller. I'm looking on this edge. If I taper both, so I make my line, I bring this smaller, and then I make this taper. Now I'm dealing with a term called foreshortening. And basically what foreshorten means is that things that are closer to us, the viewer, are bigger and more detailed than things that are further away. So bring this up a little bit. Cap is in a lot of detail. Even if I tilt it sideways, you can see the ridging, you can see the separation of the seam, the text, some of the big words you can read. But as it gets down here, all of this is blurry. It's out of focus. This part of my box is bigger. So if this were my square, cha-chink, this is bigger than this piece down here. So the bottle doesn't change size. And that's the thing, is our brain says this and this are the same size. But in the view, this guy only looks to be that big. And when I come up here, he's this big. So it's bigger at the shoulder's neck because it's closer to my viewpoint. If I turn it sideways, magically, it's the same size on the ends. It's just when I start to play with where I view. So we're going to talk more about foreshortening and changing some things next week. But anybody who feels like, hey, I think I can do this, I want to play with it, by all means, mess around a little bit and see what you come with. Again, it's okay to make mistakes because we're still learning stuff. Finally, I talk about if I were going to draw an apple. So I'm going to hit this in 30 seconds. So if I were drawing my apple, and I'm going to make a cube. The top of my apple is round. So what I could do is I could find the middle points and I could round these edges, or I could just round off those edges. Now, the thing is that the center of the apple is going to have the indent and a stem that comes out. But this needs to be softer as it goes down. And hits those crown parts of the bottom of the apple. And then as I'm doing this, this is where shading is going to start to play, because I need to make these parts come up and over the edges. So you can take your base shape, and our base shape is going to be the rectangle and the square, and we can round those out. You can take the rectangle and you can round this edge and round that edge to make a cylinder. All right. I'll put the homework up for this week. For next class, I'm just going to have you draw a couple bananas and apples just to get ready. And if you want to try something more complex, we can try something more complex. I'm going to try to get out the comic page, but the comic page is not going to be due until Monday. If you guys have any questions, you can hang out. Otherwise, it has been great seeing you guys, sort of. And I will talk to you Thursday as I try to switch back cameras as everybody pops out. All right, guys, that's all we got today. Peace.
Mr. Abel, I wasn't here for like.
Where was you?
I was getting home from work, and then I got a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Did you bring me Chick-fil-A?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I was thinking
Okay.
about you, Bill.
So all you got to do is I went over soft perspective. The first 5-8 minutes, I talked to advanced students, so they knew what to do.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say my last advanced student just popped out. And then I had advanced students kind of watch what we did here. I ran a intro. So I started about 2 minutes early with a video, and I let it run about 2 minutes long. So we got most of the video in, and it's Kim Jung doing Civil War drawing, just so people could kind of see this, because he's an amazing drawer, but he really uses what I'm teaching you right now in everything that he does. It's just he doesn't do the basics. So you came in at the end, I saw, and it showed the box. So we did a banana together as a group. You're going to do another banana. You're going to do 2 apples. That's for class Thursday. So it's another little simple 4-point assignment. And we're just going to play and practice making objects and making them look 3D. And then
So
next
making
class,
objects in the box.
yep.
Okay.
So the idea of the box is this. There's my
Okay.
box. There's my face. If
Uh-huh.
you look, my face has a front plane, boop, and a side plane, and the box is going to help you make that happen.
Okay.
So we talked a little bit about comics and how they use this and how they make things look really complex. And in reality, they're using simple perspective. So our progression is going to be soft perspective.
Mhm.
And then probably next week, we're going to talk about shading. So we're going to combine perspective and shading. And then after that, we'll talk about real perspective. Coolio?
So what am I doing today? Am I just making a banana or I'm making more than one banana?
So if you didn't do the banana with us, you're going to do two because we did one in class and you'll do one on your own. So that's two
Ooh.
bananas.
Okay.
And you do two apples. Or you could do pears or you could do whatever. I'd stick away from things like that are round. So like a single grape, a plum, an orange, just because round things are going to come with the next lesson.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
Mhm.
If you get lost, you can always rewatch the video or you can send me messages.
Okay. Thank you, Abel.
You're welcome. Enjoy your Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Peace.